Hey there, guys! This is going to be a very different series, I guess. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. So, this is going to be an explained series on the Finite Candies AU that I have. I was going to do a timeline episode in the CC FNAF AU, but that doesn't really have a set timeline, and if you really wanted to find a timeline, it's really not that hard. But the FNAC timeline, well, this AU has a lot of differences from the original candies, obviously. So I thought, why not explain it with the new reboot of the series, I guess. Yeah, as for those of you who don't know, it is back, and is back for good. Don't worry, it's not gonna disappear again. So yeah, I mean that's all I've got to say. So let's dive into this. There probably will be like 5 parts in this series, but yeah, let's get right into it. Charles Coleman, a showbiz man, was born in 1927. As a boy, he was always fascinated with theater and acting, but could never land a job as a mainstream actor. After he graduated college with a degree in medicine, he met his best friend, soon-to-be business partner, Richard Maxwell. Richard was born in 1926 and also loved acting, although he was much more cocky about it, seeing himself as a Dick Van Dyke kind of actor, wanting to be put on a pedestal and not being told what to do. Even though Charles was compassionate and kind, and Richard being tempered and stern, they got along quite nicely and did almost everything together. They would even try to find jobs as mainstream actors together. However, just like I said before, they could never land one. Richard was getting impatient, but then, in 1958, came up with a solution to their problem. If they can't be mainstream actors, why not bring the mainstream to them? Charles was confused, but Richard had all these ideas. He proposed a theater/restaurant chain where they can be the big stars of the show, as well as bring in people to eat, as sort of a kill 2 birds with 1 stone kind of a deal. Charles was excited by this idea and took it a step further. Why not market it to what children wanted? Entertainment after a long decade of rebuilding after World War II. Richard didn't want to be just a kid's entertainer, as he found it a waste of talent. But Charles was able to do some convincing, and Richard was quickly on board. After many days, weeks, even months of planning out what was going into the restaurant, they had to come up with a line of characters to entertain the children. So one day, at lunch, when discussing what characters should be within the restaurant, Charles spotted a cat walking by, and Richard saw a small mouse run across the ground. They looked at each other and knew, we got our characters. So, they went back to their now being built diner and drew up some sketches for Candy Cat and Roger Rat. They were simple costumes, just slip up and off again. It was brilliant, they thought. So now they have the building get up, they got the characters, and they've got actors. All they needed now was the staff. Over the months, they were able to find some people willing to wait to work, in which they found 5, which was all they needed. However, one day, a woman wandered into the restaurant, nearly complete. Her name was Sheila Rose. Sheila Rose was a married mother of 3, Mary, Marla, and Clayton Rose. They had just moved into town and she was looking for a job. Charles happily accepted her as a mascot cleaner and cook. Sheila happily accepted her job. However, it wouldn't be long before tragedy struck. The suits weren't all happy-go-lucky, but they were quite dangerous to put on. The big zippers and cogs in the back could easily mangle one's hand and possibly bleed out. Richard was supposed to warn her about this, but didn't, and Sheila managed to get her hand stuck and mangled by the machines. She had punctured an artery and bled to death quite quickly. Richard and Charles would find her. Charles was absolutely horrified, and Richard felt responsible. He let an innocent woman die, all because he forgot one simple thought. After this incident, Richard started to drink, letting him forget all of his sorrows and mistakes. Charles couldn't jeopardize their dream over some dead girl, he thought, before the restaurant opened just next week. So Charles, in the moment, discarded the body. However, he would feel guilty not telling anyone about this. It wasn't the right thing to do. And so he vowed this should never happen again. But we couldn't look at that now. Now the week came, and the grand opening of the Rat and Cat Theater was a success. I want to detour here and explain what happened to Sheila. You're probably saying, you explained what happened to her. And yes, you're correct, but I'm talking about her soul, as it would still live on, even after her death. See, she was a major crafter, in which Mary would love to craft with her all the time. In these precious memories came the origami cat. They crafted it together. She would go on to possess that craft. However, in her anger and resentment against the men that let her die, a shadow of her negative sides was created. Shadow Candy. This side was hard to control, but as long as she was inside the origami cat, she was still her kind and sweet self, watching over her family. Sheila will return later. A year had passed since the incident and the opening. With Clayton and Marla out of town with an aunt, Mary, at this time 8, and her father, Frank, decided to spend the entire week together. Frank, having to work full-time at the theater, as it was a very busy week, had to bring Mary along with him everywhere, since he couldn't afford a sitter. Mary didn't mind, however, as she made great new friends with a girl named Molly and a boy named Aiden. She would also come across the Rat and Cat a lot. She would play hide and seek and tag with them, all good fun times. There's also another character she didn't really go to, however, the puppeteer and his puppet Vinny. She always felt a negative aura around him and didn't really trust going up to him. On the Friday Frank had to work full-time, Mary had come across a group of kids playing hide and seek with the rat. She joined in the fun and went to go hide. She saw that the cat came out of the back room and decided to hide in there. She saw a locker and hid inside. The rat, Richard, saw her go in and headed inside. The puppeteer, named Nathan Richards, saw the clear signs. Richard was drunk. Very drunk. Even after a year, his grief only got worse, and his drinks only got more expensive. Nathan tried to take the suit off and force him to go home, but Richard fought back, and after a struggle, Nathan pushed him, and Richard hit his head in the back of the table. This triggered the mechanisms, mangling his neck and dying quickly. The cat, Charles, came inside to see what all the ruckus was about. He couldn't believe it. It happened again. Not letting it go this time, as he vowed all those years ago. He went to go to the phone and call the police. But Nathan couldn't just throw his life away like this. So he went up to Charles and strangled him, which again triggered the mechanisms, mangling his neck, and he died pretty quickly. Nathan gave the police a fake story and evacuated the building. Mary was horrified. She ran outside and found her father. Shortly after, the Rat and Cat Theater was closed. Jaden Chelsea, former friend of Richard, was able to obtain the rights to their entire company. She was now the new owner. She figured the suits were not a viable option for entertainment, so she decided to start work on a new technology, animatronics. The Rat and Cat stayed the same, however, with new updated features, and of course the new animatronic technology. These robots were the perfect place for Charles and Richards to find refuge in. Their souls would pass to these robots and possess them. Richard turned into a broken spirit. He was nobody, and on top of that, the little brat Mary had ruined his life. She's the one that got him killed. He was furious. Charles, on the other hand, turned into a broken spirit as well, but depressed. He was filled with guilt that he was just too naive to face anything like a man. So he turned into a depressed, broken spirit. As for Mary, now 10 years old, she repressed the memories deep down from what happened at the Rat and Cat Theater and moved past it, for the most part. So now, with all of that, it was time for the grand opening of the new Rat and Cat Diner. Mary and her little brother Clayton attended to the opening, as Mary wanted to learn to love that place again, but this would be a day to remember, not for the right reasons. Richard, possessing the new rat, and full of anger, was able to get back at Mary. She ruined their lives. Why should she get off scot-free, he thought. He reached down at the very excited Clayton and scratched his face deep and hard. Mary was horrified, grabbed her brother and ran out to her father, who immediately ran to the hospital. A panic ensued and the place closed down, not even a day after its opening. In the following months, Clayton was able to fully heal, but went blind in his right eye. Mary couldn't handle this. She fell into a major pool of PTSD, with the memories of the original diner coming back, and coming back strong. She would eventually attend therapy every 2 days. It was so bad. Her therapist, Agnes Holly, made sure she got the right treatment she needed, but it wouldn't be long before Mary's grief would manifest itself into monsters. Whoo boy! So that was chapter 1 to 3 of the CT FNAC AU. Yeah, so you can see that there's clearly a lot of differences between this and the actual games itself. So hopefully this will be a weekly series, or maybe every 2 weeks a new episode will come around. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you again soon, alright? Bye-bye!